this is a classic example of what happens when you help out ungrateful people, whether it's friends or family. I have a friend and associate who is more successful than I am, comes from a more successful family than I do. And he's a lot like me, except better. And he, his parents basically live in like a mansion. And, he's self sufficient and independent and whatever. So, but his sister ended up falling on hard times. And so his parents ended up letting her move back in with them. She moved all of her stuff, some overseas storage containers and whatnot, to their house and basically took over their whole house. Her dogs pooped all over the house. This is a mansion, mind you. Not like maybe Beverly Hills type mansion, but it's a freaking huge ass freaking house. His parents or their parents were basically restricted to their own bedroom because his sister, their daughter, took over the whole house with her dogs and basically trashed the whole house and wouldn't lift a finger to do anything. And recently, they too had to basically hire an attorney and get her evicted from their property. Just like I had to do with Judas. And I gave him 90-day notice where they only gave her 15-day notice. He's accusing me of giving him a 15-day notice, but I actually gave him like 90 days. When the 15 days was up, I was like, when the 15 days was there, I basically just raised the level of pressure. I gradually kept raising the level of pressure every 15 days, starting at the 90-day mark, and I just kept elevating the pressure to get him out of here. But anyways, this is basically how much respect he had for me and my property. And he just left everything a mess. You've already seen. If not, you can go back and look at previous videos of trash that he left all over the land, how trashy the greenhouse was. He lived in filth, and he left the filth behind for me to clean up. So be careful how much you help people. And like Dave Ramsey always says, never give more than you can afford to lose. Now, David Ray always talks about burnt offerings, and of course, he's telling the burnt offering story from a moocher's perspective. But basically, he's saying, when you give somebody something, it needs to be a burnt offering. You need to not expect anything in return. And that's a half truth. Again, like Dave Ramsey says, never give anything that you cannot afford to lose. So it may not be a burnt offering per se. It may not be given as a burnt offering. But in your mind, consider that it may end up being a burnt offering, whether you like it or not, because you may never see it again. So never give anything that you cannot afford to lose. I have to learn that the hard way still, but I'm learning it, Don't let people use something that you can't afford to lose. Don't let people borrow something that you can't afford to lose. Don't give people money that you can't afford to lose. This container cost me $2,500, I think, and now it's going to cost me another 1,000 or more to fix it up after he basically disrespected it. So, yeah. And here I let him use it for free. I never charged him a dime. And this is how he left it for me. Trash. Now it's going to cost me money. So, again, just be careful what you give and how much you give to people that may or may not appreciate it or respect you. you know, when the Bible says take care of the widows and the orphans, it's talking about more or less giving them a hand up, not a hand out. It's like I help Cindy because she's widowed and she really can't do a whole lot for herself, but she does try to repay me. She at least makes an effort. She probably can't afford or doesn't have the wherewithal to be able to repay me as much as I'm helping her, but she at least is trying. And that is how whether or not somebody actually is genuine or not. She's offering to help me out on the farm all the time, but I don't have a lot of stuff that she can do. She could probably help me with this. But right now she's on medication for something that I took her to the doctor for that may prevent her from helping me today. So that's the only reason why she's not helping me today. And it's freaking cold outside. She can't handle the extreme cold or the extreme heat. But she at least offers, she at least tries. She wants to give back. And I let her, when she can, when there's an opportunity for her to do so. Unfortunately for me, it seems like I'm more productive when I work alone rather than when I have somebody with me. But there are some things that I need help with, and that's whenever I call on people to help me with it. Like these boards are really freaking heavy. I mean, I can handle them, but like hanging siding, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 people, depending on what it is, to hang siding. So I call on someone to help me with that. If it's someone like my brother who I don't have to hold their hand in order to do something, then I would have them help me because all I have to do is say, I need this done, and they will go do it, and it'll be done. I don't have to babysit them. I don't have to hold their hand. And my trail cam is saying I got a vehicle detected again. So I'm going to have to check that out. Oh, it's probably the wind blowing my mom's camper again. But anyways, I'm going to go check that out. And then I'm going to go get my vacuum and vacuum this. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I want it to be clean enough to put the board down and not have any problems. But this is probably fine. And this back part's not as runt as the front part. This front part's the worst. But yeah, I kept telling him, I says, you need to get your stuff out of that container so that I can get it up out of the mud and put it on gravel so it won't get ruined. I was worried about the floor rotting out. And now you see the floor rotted out. Not completely, but especially around the edges and up front. And then, of course, the ceiling. I got up here a year or 2 ago and patched the ceiling, and because he never would. And because of all the moisture inside here, all of his stuff rotted, as well as the floor. I mean, because that was all the boxes of his stuff. Not all the boxes, but some of the boxes of his stuff. His stuff was just rotten. Another friend was going to let him put the stuff in his overseas storage container. Here's a mouse nest that was inside the container. But anyways, a friend was going to let him use his container to store all of his stuff, but he says you can't put anything moldy in there. Well, pretty much everything in here was moldy. And he basically said, well, it's going to take me a year to go through all my stuff in order to make sure that I don't have anything moldy to put in there. I was like, fuck that. I ain't got a year. You got to be out of here in 90 days. So I just had to start applying more pressure because he was dragging his ass. And plus, he was stealing some of my things as well. So I basically had to put more pressure on him and give him less time because he wanted to take a year. I had to give him less time and keep applying more pressure to get him out of here quicker so he wouldn't steal more stuff and so I can have my stuff back, my greenhouse, my container, whatnot. He had his stuff everywhere. It took a year for us to get him to get his stuff out of my mom's green shed that's supposed to be used for tools. He had his own personal crap in there. We kept bugging him for a whole year to get his stuff out. Eventually, I had to just take it out and take it to the greenhouse and lock him out of the green shed. Otherwise, he'd have just took it back there, which he did the first time I did that. And so I was like, all right, fine. I'm going to change the locks. I'm going to move all of his stuff into the greenhouse. Boom. Problem solved. So, yeah, it took forever just to get him to get his stuff out of there. Everything that I owned, he tried to move his stuff into my space. He had his stuff everywhere. And I don't know if his agenda was, well, if I have my stuff with your stuff, then I can claim some of your stuff as my stuff when I leave, or what. But basically, that's what he did. So be careful letting people invade your space and putting their stuff with your stuff, because then they may try to lay claim on some of your things as well. So be leery of that. Anyways, I'm going to get back to work, trying to be productive, but I also kind of want to warn people, not that anybody really watches my videos, only my brother and maybe one other, but yeah, just be careful how much you help people. I tend to overhelp people, and it usually 9 times out of 10 is at my own demise. So, yeah.